Hello everyone, now let's learn how to make the cake slice coaster. First, start with the preparation work. First, make the threader part. Pinch the ends of the fishing line. Take out the tape and stick the line ends. The tape needs to be prepared by yourself. After doing this, use it as the threader. Applying tape makes the operation easier, but if you don't have tape, it won't affect threading. Pinch the folded part of the threader. Then thread it through the small hole at the needle tip. Pay attention, you must thread through this small hole. Be sure not to thread directly through this large hole. If threaded this way, the yarn won't stay on the fabric surface during punching. Insert through the small hole, then continue pushing forward into the large hole until it emerges from the other end. Then put the yarn into the loop. Pull the threader to draw the yarn through. Leave a yarn end about 1 inch long, approximately to 0.5 centimeters. Threading complete. Take out the embroidery hoop and loosen the screw on top of the hoop. Remove the inner hoop. Next, take out the embroidery fabric with the pattern, placing the pattern side facing yourself. Place it on the inner hoop. Try to position the pattern properly and position it at the center of the inner hoop. After adjusting, fit on the outer hoop. If the pattern is slightly off-center, you can adjust it by pulling with your fingers like this. Now it is properly adjusted. Then tighten the upper screw while simultaneously stretching the embroidery fabric. Press the fabric surface and check for any obvious indentations. If the surface does not feel taut and springy, it means the embroidery fabric is not stretched tight. Please continue stretching the embroidery fabric. Press the fabric surface again to check if it is tight. While stretching the embroidery fabric, pay attention to the distance between this circle and the outer frame, maintaining an even gap and ensuring the pattern is not distorted by pulling. Continue tightening the upper screw to prevent the fabric surface from loosening during punching. This is the effect after the embroidery fabric is stretched tight. The side with the printed pattern is the front. The loops created by punching will appear on the back. We will insert the needle from the front to punch. Take out the punch needle and adjust the length of the needle head. Take a pipe cleaner. Note, the color of the pipe cleaners in the material kit is shipped randomly. The video is for demonstration purposes only. Place the pipe cleaner on the needle head. Bend the front end inward. Continue wrapping the remaining pipe cleaner around the needle head. Then press down firmly to make the pipe cleaner more compact. Measure the needle head length and reserve approximately to 0.5 cm. This is about 1 inch. Cut off the excess pipe cleaner. That's all you need to do. Take out the instruction manual for the corresponding style. The picture shows the finished effect. Please refer to the manual frequently during crafting. This marks the yarn color code. The text below corresponds to the stitching technique. The tools are marked below. Let's start punching this area first. Find the corresponding yarn color in the stitching technique used. Here we use the flat stitch technique. The tool used is the punch needle. Take out the yarn of the corresponding color. Find the yarn end. Pull out enough yarn and lay it loosely aside. Using the method taught in the video, first thread the yarn into the punch needle yourself. This is what it looks like after threading the yarn. Reserve enough loose yarn in advance and set it aside for easy punching. Hold the embroidery hoop, keeping a slight distance from the table surface to facilitate needle insertion. Find a starting point for needle insertion along the edge line of the area to be punched. With the bevel of the punch needle facing forward, fully insert the needle head into the fabric surface. Place your hand on the back of the fabric and pull the yarn tail out. Then gently withdraw the punch needle from the fabric surface. Keep the bevel of the punch needle facing forward with the needle tip closely touching the fabric surface. Do not lift the punch needle too high, as this will cause the yarn segment to protrude on the fabric surface. This will cause the yarn segment to stick out. First, return to the previous step. Gently slide the needle tip to restore any enlarged holes in the fabric surface to their original state. Pull the yarn at this end of the needle to tighten the yarn. Continue punching forward. Punch the next stitch at intervals of 2-3 holes. Determine the length of the yarn segment based on its direction. Rotate the embroidery hoop to adjust it to a comfortable position. The last stitch is a bit long and can be split into 2 yarn segments. After completing the first round, each stitch in the second round should be inserted at the midpoint of each yarn segment from the first round. Insert the needle staggered lie to achieve a fuller effect. Always ensure the bevel of the needle tip faces the direction of progress. Punching in the opposite direction like this is not correct. Continue filling this area. If you are not satisfied with the effect, you can lift the punch needle, pull out the yarn and dry punch. First, use the needle tip to restore the enlarged holes on the fabric surface. Tighten the excess yarn. Ray punch the area to fill it completely. When encountering a gap, use the needle tip to push the yarn on both sides outward, then insert the needle. Filling the gap ensures the punching effect is fuller. After filling this area, turn to the back side. Use scissors to cut the yarn. Flip to the front side and remove the punch needle. Notice there is a recessed part here. Push it from the back of the embroidery fabric with your hand. This completes the step. Using the same method, continue punching these 3 areas with the red yarn. Find a starting point for needle insertion along the edge of the pattern on this side. This straight line is relatively shortened, only requires 1 stitch. For curved areas, the yarn segments can be punched shorter to help create a rounded arc. It is not necessary to strictly follow the whole spacing, just keep the length similar to the previous yarn segments. For the second round, insert the needle in the middle of the yarn segment from the previous round. Staggered punching produces a better effect. During the process, be careful not to place your hand under the needle tip to avoid injury. Slowly withdraw the punch needle while pressing the yarn with your fingers. Tuck the yarn. Use a sharp tool to poke the yarn end downward into the fabric surface. No need to change the yarn, adjust the yarn end length and continue punching the next area. Find the gap and fill in a few more stitches. Similarly, create the next area. Effect after completing all reed areas. Next, make this area. Use number 3 yarn on the flat stitch technique. Also use the punch needle tool. Take out the corresponding color yarn. Pull out the yarn end. Continue threading the yarn into the punch needle. Find the starting point at the edge of the corresponding area for needle insertion. Turn the embroidery hoop in another direction. Gently pull out the punch needle, then move forward along the fabric surface. Rotate the direction. Return to the point next to the starting point and insert the needle to punch. Return to the upper position, then punch 1 stitch. Following the method of punching 1 stitch upward and then 1 stitch downward, continue punching to complete. For the protruding yarn, use a sharp tool to poke the yarn downward to make it flatter. This is enough. Continue using white yarn to punch the next area. Find a starting point at the edge of this area to begin needle insertion. This line is relatively long, so we divide it into 2 segments for punching. The last yarn segment is too long, you can withdraw a few stitches and dray punch. Note that the direction needs to be changed next. First, complete punching this small area. After filling this area, insert the needle from the side to punch the next section. The white areas are now punched. Next, punch the next area. First, thread the corresponding yarn for this area into the punch needle. Leave enough yarn loose to the side. Find a starting point at the edge to insert the needle. Poke the protruding yarn down to make the surface flat. This area is complete. Then punch this area. First, take out the yarn corresponding to these two areas and thread it into the punch needle. Find a starting point at the edge to insert the needle. No need to change yarn for the lower area. Continue punching. Do not punch around the edges in circles here. Instead, fill it row by row using horizontal lines. After punching the main body of the cake, proceed to punch the background area. Take out the yarn of the corresponding color for that area. Pre-thread the needle, then start punching. For slightly larger areas, you can punch the yarn segments a bit longer. In the end, use a sharp tool to poke the yarn end inside. Continue punching. After all punching is complete, flip to the back side and trim off the yarn tails. Then flip to the front side. Take a piece of dark green yarn. Take out the plastic sewing needle. Thread the yarn through the needle eye. Tie a knot at the end. Locate this vertex, then the point slightly below it. Pull the needle out from the back of the embroidery fabric. Insert the needle slightly above this point. Pull the yarn out from the back. Then pull the needle out from the adjacent position. Use the needle tip to poke the pulled yarn downward. Then, sew one stitch to the left. After finishing the embroidery, turn to the back and tie a knot to secure the yarn end, preventing it from coming loose later. Next, embroider the sugar grains on the cake. Use sculler number 4 yarn here, using straight stitch. The tool used is a plastic hand sewing needle. Take a length of this colored yarn on the plastic sewing needle. Thread the yarn through the needle eye. Tie a knot at the end. In this area, embroider some sugar grains as decorations according to your personal preference. Tie a knot at the end to secure it. Switch to white yarn, then embroider some white sugar grains as embellishments. The entire piece is now complete. Next, loosen the screw and remove the embroidery fabric. Lay the embroidery fabric flat. Then, cut off the excess along the pressed marks on the fabric surface. Be sure to cut along the inner line. Next, cut open the embroidery fabric at regular intervals, taking care not to cut the yarn. Leave a small gap between the opening and the yarn. After cutting, apply hot melt glue. Fold the edges inward and press to secure. Then press firmly to fix. If you don't have a hot melt glue gun, you can use a lighter to heat the glue stick. Next, I will demonstrate how to heat the hot melt glue stick using a lighter. Rotate the glue stick and heat it with the inner flame. Soften it until it becomes transparent. Once softened, quickly apply it to the embroidery fabric, then press to adhere and secure. Precautions when using a lighter. Always heat with the inner flame. Use it once it is softened and transparent. Heating with the outer flame will cause the melted glue to turn black, which looks unsightly. To save time, I will continue demonstrating with the hot melt glue gun in the video. Apply a small amount of glue to the overlapping parts of the embroidery fabric and continue to adhere and secure them. Flip to the front side and check if the glued result is satisfactory. Take out the felt fabric and cover the back. Apply hot melt glue and adhere the felt fabric to the back. Press firmly to secure it. Continue checking whether the edges are fully glued. If there are areas where the edges are not glued, continue applying glue. Then turn to the front side. Trim off the excess felt fabric along the edges. Be careful not to cut the yarn. The cake slice coaster is now complete.